Louis Sharp, known as Ismail Abu Ibrahim, was a professional musician and a hardcore Zionist who converted to Islam.
And when I saw the consistency, the rationality, the justice, and the nature of Islam, I knew that this was something so robust and strong that I wanted it. I wanted to base my life upon this, my brotherhood with people. I wanted it to be based upon Islam.
Ismail Sharp, of Polish Jewish descent, currently in the UK, in the current times where we're exposed to the word Zionist more frequently, Ismail Sharp admits to him having been a hardcore supporter due to his Ashkenazi background and how European Jews' support for the cause is deeply rooted in the historical context.
I'm also from an Ashkenazi Jewish family on my mother's side. So I was raised somewhat with this Jewish, European Jewish identity, with sympathizing with Zionism. Let's say a pro-Zionist upbringing with regards to my Jewish side.
He was a musician, a drummer, and had partnered with singers like Adele and had toured London and the UK. So how did a person with such a background turn to Islam? Ismail Sharp is honest with his pre-Muslim life of being paranoid by the mere sight of Muslims on the tube in London, which even compelled him to change carriages. Sharp was only left without answers to who the creator is. As a young boy, his question to his mom about where the Milky Way ends, and her response, "I don't know, and I don't think about it, I'm afraid," left a bigger void in his mind. With this background in mind, what do you think he sought next? Sharp befriended an atheist and began looking through his lens, but that didn't give him the satisfaction he wanted. Turning to Christianity, buying a copy of the Old Testament, and aspiring to fulfill his growing needs of answers to the multitude of questions in his head. The Old Testament didn't give him the answers either. So now what? At a particularly low period, having lost interest in music and feeling depressed, he decided to read the Quran, which he had got from his friend 2 years prior. And upon reading the first surah and then moving on to the second, he admits a feeling of finally finding what he had been seeking for so long.
All of it hit me. It was different. I've never read something like this before from a religious scripture. Definitely didn't see this in the Old Testament when I was reading that anything is direct. Those who believe in the unseen, I was already became aware of the fact that there must be something beyond all of this.
He felt the power of the divine words, which he couldn't feel upon reading any other religious scriptures. And most importantly, he felt like the words were addressing him. But the doubts about the misinformation spread by Islamophobes and the misguided, polluted versions of Islam some groups propagated still left Ismail Sharp in doubt. Confused with what he had read in the Quran and the previous misconceptions troubling his mind, he randomly met a Sudanese man in the street and walked up to him and got talking about Islam. The Sudanese man, with kind manners that Islam promotes, invited Sharp to his home, and the kind wife cooked him a meal while they waited for his son, who could converse in fluent English, to return to talk and clear the narratives of the misconceptions in Sharp's mind. These acts of kindness by unknown random people impacted Sharp drastically, and he thought of what the Quran promotes: kindness and goodness to all, something that the Islamophobic media and governments have tarnished. You know how positively some interactions can leave us feeling. That had overtaken and Sharp, and he walked into a masjid one day, met 2 Somali brothers, and told them he wanted to take the Shahada. They welcomed him in and ran over the details of the Shahada and its conditions, and he immediately took his Shahada then and there. And just like that, he says he felt free. He felt relieved. He felt as if a huge mountain had been moved off his chest. And that's the impact Islam has on a person. It gives freedom and relief and happiness that no other religion does. Ismail Sharp has said he's been accused of leaving his Jewish faith, but he rightly points out that his reversion to Islam is him coming back to his true religion, the religion of his ancestors, and the religion where he truly has to belong to.